Just want to apologize if things seem a little awkward and tense on the Sprint Right Option podcast today. I had a new pair of pants that Jason said I couldn't wear, and it's just a little weird. So hang out, new Sprint Right Option podcast.
Follow dress code. Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Right Option podcast. Oh, man, it's a new episode of the Sprint Right Option podcast. I'm Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by Jason Aponte. A lot of things to talk about today. Pants, Patriots, predictions, a lot of things. But maybe bad news for the 49ers. Good news for the new segment we have on the Sprint Right Option podcast. There's been a rash of injuries for the 49ers. Nobody better to bring on to talk about those injuries than Dr. Nirav Pandya. And Doc, I've had one question all week for you, and I've been sitting on it. I'm excited to finally ask it. It's about your work experience, actually. Have you ever had a patient that was recovering so well from an injury, you sent them to Germany just to show off how well they were recovering from that injury?
I would say never. Yes.
No. So within, I guess that leads to the next question. Is the Germany news with Christian McCaffrey? I know we got a little bit of a update with McCaffrey. Is the Germany news, was that a red flag to you? I think that's a red flag to me. I want to know if it is to you.
Yeah, I think the timing was a little peculiar. I mean, I think if someone right when he got diagnosed was like, look, I'm heading out to Germany, I'm going to get this checked out. The fact that it was a couple weeks into this IR stint, you definitely get a little bit worried about that. And then obviously, like, if he got something done, which we don't know yet, even more of a warning sign. If he like went there and everyone's like, well, everything's good, then be huge sigh of relief. But obviously when you're going to someplace international to either get an opinion or get something done, clearly it's a red flag.
So Kyle Shanahan in today's press conference confirmed that he got treatment. Now, he didn't get into too much detail, but I think we know what that trip entails. Kobe Bryant once did it. It was called, in my day, the blood spinning. I don't know if that's the same exact idea. There's ideas that it's stem cells. So let's just say, for argument's sake, he did get this done. And now they're talking about ramping him up this week on Monday. Would you consider that a good sign after the treatment that they're ready to ramp him back up and see what it looks like?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I think one of the things you're looking at is, with this Achilles tendonitis, you want pain to be down. So the fact that they're thinking about increase in activity is a positive sign. Now, the interesting thing with these treatments, and hopefully we'll hear, someone may report what exactly he got done. Typically, they take 4 to 6 weeks for them to actually set in and start working. So maybe what ramping up means is he's rested, he got this treatment, we're going to start slowly getting back mobility, getting back some strength without him actually being on the field. So it'll be interesting to see how much he's ramping up. But the fact that they're actually starting to do something is a positive sign. Now, the question is, how long will that ramp up take, which we don't know? And then number two, the tough thing is we just don't know what it's going to feel like for him. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what an MRI shows. It doesn't matter what the doctor says. It's like, if he's having pain, then that's it. You can't play. So I think that's the big unknown with this injury.
Well, you just asked one of the questions I was going to ask you. Based off everything everything we know, when do you think we could expect Christian McCaffrey? This is not legally binding. Nobody run to Twitter and say Doc said McCaffrey's
No. I need a definitive answer, and we're going to hold your feet to the fire. Yes. I'm sorry, Doc.
No, so what do you think, just based off of what you know, is a logical timeline for Christian McCaffrey to be back?
Right. So, I think about it, we do know that in general, for like the everyday average person, you get Achilles tendonitis, it's going to be 3 months from the time you get it. Okay. But then you throw in the fact, professional athlete, potentially getting treatments in Germany, rehab 24/7. So you could potentially say, you know what, this could be 8 weeks from the time you got it. So if you're looking at the timeline, week 9, week 10, that could be realistic, given if this is kind of quote unquote a normal course of Achilles tendonitis. If he doesn't have any pain pops up, then obviously everything kind of gets thrown out. But yeah, I think that would be if you would expect or have me guess, that's when I would think, if he's feeling okay.
In terms of the treatment, there's probably only one or two things, right, that he could be doing. I mean, again, and you know what? I guess my question is this: is you have to go to Germany to get this done because it's not FDA approved here in America? Is that why?
Yeah. So basically, the regulations in Europe are a little bit different. So technically, the reason why the regulations are different there is that if you take something out of the body, typically in the United States, and you just got to put it right back in. In Germany, what they can do in Europe you can take some, whatever you inject, you can manipulate it a little bit. You can increase the concentration. You can biopsy culture it and have it stick around for a while. So what you can do with what you take out and put back in, the regulations are a little bit laxer. So that may be the reason why, is that theoretically you get this treatment done. You have quote unquote more healing stuff injected in. It's just that it's more strictly regulated in the United States as opposed to Europe. And that's why a lot of athletes go over there.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say medical stuff is amazing that we could just take body parts out, just like let them sit on the side for a little bit, put them back in, they're good to go. I can't fathom it. That's why we have you here. This is the 49ers, Doc. It's not just Christian McCaffrey that's hurt. We have other injuries to talk about. Deebo Samuel, he had the calf thing come up about a couple weeks ago. They said it would take about a couple weeks. He's questionable for Sunday. Do you think Sunday's maybe rushing him back for the timeline the Niners themselves gave? Or do you think it's one of those where it's, hey, if he feels good, he can play?
Yeah, I think if he feels good, it's definitely like one of those he can play things that, especially with him having a lot of soft tissue injuries in his career. He has experience with this, unfortunately, and I think he knows what it feels. So the fact that he was out there in practice, he definitely did surprise me from the sense of he didn't do anything last week, and now he's coming back out there, which probably means it feels pretty good. And I think he knows his body. He's not a rookie. So if he's going to feel any concern, any soreness, then he can obviously pull himself out. But given the fact that he was out there and doing some stuff today, I would not be surprised if he's potentially out there in a limited role on Sunday.
Not a doctor question, more 49ers fan question. Do you feel like they're getting Deebo Samuel out there because this one feels like a little bit more of a must win than most week 4 games?
Yeah, when you're 1-2, games start taking a little bit more importance, especially when you're thinking about, could this game mean home field? Could it mean something else? Because you're 1-3 in that conference, it's going to be tough. So you are starting to get to the point where you don't have that luxury of resting players who may be a little bit banged up. You got to get them out there. So absolutely, that may be one point of consideration, is that we need him out there, especially because now people will probably be keen on Juwan Jennings because now they know what he can do. So maybe getting Deebo out there opens up a little bit more for Juwan to do what he did.
Trent Williams has had a bit of an active week on the injury report. He did not practice on Wednesday with an illness. Thursday, he was a full participant. And today, a toe injury. I know the joke of COVID toes out there. I won't make it. I guess I make it in a way. But is it – I haven't seen specific details of what the toe injury is, but Trent Williams is a big man. I can't imagine putting a lot of weight on a toe that hurts feels great. Is this something that, hey, they're just sitting him, or is this something that you think can be a lingering issue throughout the season with just how big Trent Williams is?
Yeah, it could absolutely be a lingering issue. I think with all the stuff that's going on with Shorts and Brandon Ayuk, that kind of got missed a little bit today. I'm worried about that toe. He's a big guy. He's had kind of foot ankle issues in the past. And, we have a tendency to minimize it's just the toe, but you're at that position, you're that big, you have to plant, you have to kind of pass protect, you have to run block. It's a lot of force. So if your toe is sore and you can't do that stuff, then yeah, absolutely, you'd have to have him hold out for next week. So something to watch very closely. I get concerned. Some of these things with Trent Williams have lingered for a couple of weeks, and with him, not having done stuff in training camp, him talking about, needing those IVs, being a little bit out of shape, and then throw this toe in there, it's just a setup for him to have to exert more energy and potentially not be as impactful. So something we have to watch pretty closely.
And what would be the difference between, say, whatever this, it feels like a general toe injury designation, right? Like they're not telling you anything about it, or something like turf toe or something like that. What are the differences between this very general description of what the injury is and something that is a little bit more definitive like that?
Yeah, so if it's just a general toe thing, it really is about pain. I think that if he's not having pain, he's able to do what he needs to do, then you are, fine getting him out there. With the turf toe, sometimes even if you're feeling well, it can just kind of come up on you really quickly. Suddenly it's, a 6 to 8 week long thing. You are worried about it becoming a season ending type injury with turf toe, particularly at his size. So general toe injury, let's just get the pain under control. Not a big deal. It's going to be about his performance. Turf toe, his size, that gets aggravated. Some turf toes don't need surgery, especially with him being that big. So turf toe, a much bigger concern than this general toe injury. Hopefully that's all it is.
Dr. Nirav Pandya, we appreciate it. I got one last question for you. It's not as much as a medical question. It's more of a feel question. Throw out everything medical and see if you can bear with me here through this question. Okay. Javon Hargrave obviously out for the season. Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Brock Purdy, Jordan Elliott, all have shown up on the injury report this week. It never feels like the 49ers can just have one injury. It always has to be not even 2 or 3. It's like 5, 6, right? Is there something to this idea of when it rains, it pours with injuries? Like, is there something like, I guess the best word, is there something in the air in Santa Clara, I guess, that causes these injuries? Why is it that the Niners can just never have like one injury and then everybody else be good? Why does it always seem to come in bunches?
Yeah, I think part of that has to do with the fact that when these players get injured, which happens to be stars, and you get these other players who are trying to overcompensate for them, I think a lot of it has to do that you're exerting more effort, you're doing more things, and maybe there's some intricacies of Shanahan's offense is that when a star goes out, those other people have to pick it up, and maybe they're doing more plays, maybe they're doing more in practice. So I think a lot of it has to do with that next man up philosophy, but sometimes what they're doing is stressing their bodies more. And the offense, the way Shanahan runs it, there's a lot of run pass option. There's a lot of unpredictability, and suddenly you're forced in a new system where it's not as linear and you're doing more stuff, and it just sets you up for injury. And part of it's as well too, like the players who are getting injured are the older players, like the 49ers are getting a little bit older as well too. But I agree. The kind of theme of this, is a lot of injuries in training camp. First couple of weeks of the season, everyone gets injured. Everyone's worried what's going wrong. And then suddenly you get to like week 12 and everyone's healthy and they're like the healthiest team in the NFL. So it seems to be a pattern with this team. Yeah.
I'll say this. I think the 49ers are playing 4D chess with everybody, getting all of their injuries out of the way. And I think that no one is listening to this big brain technique. Doc, real quick, I know you're a big Bay Area Dubs fan, but Derrick Rose retired, and I know you have Chicago ties. Talk to me about what that means and how special Derrick Rose was.
For me, especially growing up. So we, grew up, saw the Bulls championships, and then the Bulls were bad for a long period of time. And Derrick Rose was really the first person that kind of brought basketball back up in Chicago. He's a Chicago kid. And, if Derrick Rose was maybe playing 4 years later with social media, people would be amazed at what he did. But just because he was in Chicago this one-off season, you look at the videos of him, amazing player, like MVP, just took over the team. And his injury happened right when his career was just like going to explode off. So for what he meant for Chicago, being a Chicago kid, how he was like mini Jordan in the sense he was athletic. Just you always wonder what would have happened to his career if he hadn't gotten injured. Just a really amazing player.
Doc, we really appreciate every time you join us. Hopefully next time, less injuries to talk about, more Chicago sports. I know the Cubs and the White Sox exist, Bears happening. We got plenty of Chicago's. Maybe less sports injury talk next time, huh?
Absolutely. Happy to talk sports anytime. Yeah.
Hey, who's winning on Sunday, by the way, before we get out of here?
I think 49ers will win. Yeah. I think they got the Patriots number. I don't think their new coach can handle the Shanahan shenanigans, as they like to call it. Yeah.
One last final question. What color shorts are in the cart?
The black shorts.
The black ones. Yeah, I don't want to get yelled at either, right? Yeah.
Getting on Kyle Shanahan's good side. We like it. Hey, Doc, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always great for us to talk to you about injuries, and we learn some things. We learn medical things, like you can take an Achilles out, put it on the side, let it marinate a little bit before you put it back in. So
awesome. Take care, guys. See you.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah. I wish I was as confident as he was in picking the 49ers to win this game on Sunday. That's what I want to take away, because I'm not as confident. And I think the 49ers win. We'll talk about it. But, Jason, we talked a lot about injuries there. I'm tired of talking about injuries. That's really all I got. It feels like a yearly thing where we're not just talking about one. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's back. I mean, even Brock Purdy kind of showed up on the injury report this week with a back injury. He was a full participant. So this is, I guess, the bright side of all these injuries right now is we're going to slowly start to see the 49ers get healthier. I don't like the 1 and 2 start with all these injuries because, Jason, you mentioned it to Doc. Sunday's kind of a must win. And I don't want to over dramatize that because it is week 4. And this is a 49ers team that we've seen start 3 and 5 and have the slower starts. Where are you at going into this game with, I guess, Jason, everything San Francisco 49ers? How do you feel? I guess state of the franchise, Jason. How do you feel about the 49ers going into week 4?
Well, I mean, coming off of a loss like this, I don't want to say that there's more of a perfect opponent because at this point, how many times this year already we're 1 and 2 when we've picked the 49ers to win, and we've thought, we can do this, we can do that, obviously any given Sunday. But I think when you look at the absolute weaknesses of the Patriots, right, they're not going to be able to throw the ball downfield. They have trouble on third down converting. They're going to try to run the football 30 to 35 times. It's going to be a good test for the 49ers run defense. But if there was ever a time for the 49ers to kind of build some confidence on defense, almost see the ball go through the hoop and try to, carry something over before this schedule gets tougher, there's no team like the Patriots to bounce back against. So I think we're not overlooking them, but we might be overthinking it just based on who's there. And I think that's absolutely fair, considering, well, the Rams don't have anybody. How are they going to get this done? Oh, well, it's Sam Darnold. We look kind of crazy the last 2 weeks, but I think logically, when you look at this, it's hard to get away from the talent discrepancy. It's hard to get away from the quarterback play and their style of play and how it doesn't really give the 49ers fits. But if we do get back on this show on Monday and the 49ers have found a way to not win this game, we have a very, very deep discussion with a lot of panic in our voices when we talk about this team.
Yeah, and I think, Jason, you said it perfectly. It's not that we're overlooking this game. It's almost like we're overthinking it. And let me give you one of my prime overthinking it thoughts that I've had. The Patriots offense, not great. It's not a great offense. But what they do lean on is Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, 2 tight end sets. That just tells me in my dumb brain, Jason, it's a lot of Devondre Campbell pass attempts. Tight ends playing in the middle against linebackers. Devondre Campbell's been targeted 16 times this season, 6 most among linebackers. He's the most targeted Niners player on defense. Teams are obviously trying to attack him. Is that one of the matchups that might make you be concerned about this game? Is those tight ends with Devondre Campbell on the field, or is there another matchup that kind of concerns you?
No, I don't necessarily think that's a matchup that is the problem. And I think we're looking at Devondre Campbell and saying, oh my God, he keeps getting beat. But what I would say is a lot of these times, why is he being put in this same position? Like, why is he guarding Kyren Williams on a choice route? Why is he constantly a man? If something's not working, and if you see that someone's struggling, why keep doing it? And then I think that goes all the way back to Nick Sorensen. I think there's other ways to use Devondre Campbell where he's not a target. Blitz him, put him in zone, so everybody's got eyes in the backfield. Like, it's stuff like that. It's like you keep running man and one guy keeps getting picked on. And then you start looking around like, well, we're all trying to find the guy responsible for this. It's like, yeah, you keep hanging him out to dry. They're picking on this. Why aren't you adjusting? So it's something that, yes, the player has to step up. Devondre Campbell in 2021 was an all-pro as a coverage linebacker. Coverage, not a run defender, coverage in Green Bay. But he's clearly not that player now. The issue is while you lean on the veteran status of him, I have issues with the way you kind of have deployed him and put him in a spot where he's not effective right now. I mean, if someone is a quarterback and they don't have legs, why run RPO with them? I think there's ways to mix all this stuff up and not have it where it becomes this issue over and over and over. And I think that has to go and fall on Nick Sorensen. And I think that's where you have to figure out your adjustments. Is it zone? Is it blitzing him? Is it playing him a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage to play the run a little bit more? I don't know what the answer is, but I know that the answer is not just doing the same thing over and over again. And then, oh man, Campbell keeps getting ripped on. Yeah, like they're obviously exploiting that. Change something.
Jason, maybe I picked on the wrong defender to talk about.
No. I wrote about 5 players that need to step up.
Yes.
For Niners Nation. Devondre Campbell's there. So's yes. Isaac Yiadom. The special teams is on there. Leonard Floyd's on there. And Colton McKivitz is on there. There's absolutely 100% something that he needs to pick up. But I have a tough time just giving it all to him when they just continue to run the same thing over and over and put him in a spot that he's unsuccessful. That isn't good coaching.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to transition to, because you mentioned Nick Sorensen. We talked about the lack of blitzing from the 49ers. I think it's like 17% right now. It's the second lowest in the NFL. It's the lowest of the Shanahan era. But if there's a group that needs to get right on this 49ers defense, it's the pass rush, right? It just hasn't been hitting as it should. Brett Coleman, he had a fantastic stat on Twitter today. And true drop back pass reps, the 49ers D-line is 26th in pressure percentage, and even worse than the Panthers. And I feel like people outside of local Bay Area media aren't talking enough about just how bad of a sign that is for the ceiling this season. Jason, we've been talking about that pass rush because we are Bay Area media. The Patriots offensive line, not very good. Jacoby Brissett's been pressured on 46.4% of his dropbacks. That's the highest of any quarterback with at least 35 dropbacks this season. Vidarian Lee, messed up that name. Vidarian Lowe, he's out week 4. Caden Wallace is going to step in at left tackle. He allowed 3 pressures against the Jets. Layden Robinson, the right guard, 11 pressures, the most on the Patriots. Kind of a bad week to be missing Javon Hargrave. Simple question, Jason. Is this a must-get-right game for the pass rush?
I think it's for the entire defense. And I think, yes, there are going to be skeptics who say, honestly, who are you really holding down? Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, right? Like, that's fine. But this is the week to figure things out because you're not going to have that sort of pressure on you, right? Like if you're worried about how to fix your run, here's a team that's going to try and slow the game down and run the football 30, 35 times with their 2 running backs. Now's the time to figure out your run defense. And it's time to try different things. I don't know if they're going to sit there and drop back and pass. That's not Jacoby Brissett's strong suit. It's manage the game, slow down the game, like take the possessions down. But if there's a time to fix it, it's the time is now. Because if you're trying to fix it against the Los Angeles Rams, okay, Matthew Stafford can throw the ball over your head. Now you don't have those concerns. So this is a get-right game for the entire defense to figure out how to start slowing down the run because you can bet your ass people are just going to keep running the football at them. If you can't do this now when a team comes into this game already one-dimensional, then I fear you won't be able to when the competition raises itself and tries to run.
Yeah, New England's got a really good 1-2 punch in the running and in the backfield. Ramondre Stevenson, he's been around for a while. Antonio Gibson as well. He's their spell back. He's having a pretty good year. New England's running the ball very well. Really the only good thing of the offense so far. It's a top 10 run offense. Everything else is bottom half of the league. The one thing the New England offense does really well is not turn the ball over. 3.3 turnover percentage. It's the lowest in the league. They are second lowest in the league. They've only turned the ball over once. That was Ramondre Stevenson's fumble from last week against the Jets. Other than that, they haven't turned the ball over. I would say part of it is Brissett doesn't throw the ball enough to throw interceptions. He hasn't thrown an interception yet. Something I did find interesting about Stevenson, though, is he's tied for the league in fumbles with Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Will Levis, Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, Deshaun Watson, and Kirk Cousins. So a running back being tied with a bunch of quarterbacks for most fumbles. Niners have been pretty decent at punching the ball out past couple of years, so that's something to watch. I think what I really need to see in this game, Jason, is the pass rush get to Brissett and the back end forcing turnovers off of it. I really think that's what you need to see because it's a weird game, Jason, and that's where I'm at is because outside of the Jets game where they got absolutely demolished, the Patriots have played 2 competitive games against what do you want to say about the Bengals? Good football team, average football team. What do you want to say about their own 3?
They're from Cincinnati.
Okay, boom. They've played 2 competitive football games against a team from Cincinnati and a pretty good Seahawks team. So it's a team that's been able to hang around and play.
I think you're muted.
My setup's not perfect. I apologize, Jason.
Yeah, now it's coming through your AirPods. You got to put it back. Yep.
Switch it. I want to get to the question. I'll switch it while you're talking. I apologize. I guess just my point is we talked about it. They can be competitive. I just need to see the defense force mistakes like they haven't been doing the past couple games because this is a New England team that can stick around.
Yeah, and I think it's a fascinating point that we're still having the same conversations about the back end not being tied to pass rush. And what the 49ers did last season was force turnovers. It feels like Fred Warner's the only one turning the football over. Well, that covered up a lot of warts, in terms of, hey, this isn't looking good. But when you turn the football over and end the drive, then it kind of goes in the back of your mind that there's that. But now you're not turning the football over. You're not getting interceptions. It's only Fred Warner that's doing it. So I wonder if last year, and obviously everyone had their qualms with Steve Wilks, in the quote-unquote games that the 49ers were playing well in defense, how much of that was blinded by the turnovers and ending drives? And that's the part that we haven't gotten yet. Because when you're not turning the football over, when you're not getting to the pass rush, you're not getting there, and you have confusion on the back end, you're not getting off the field, it's going to start to look bad. And it's almost the same issues with Wilks, but at least with Wilks and that defense last season, They got a lot of turnovers and they ended a lot of drives that way. That's the one thing we're kind of missing right now.
Yeah, and it just hasn't happened. And I don't want to keep pounding the point, but that blitz percentage, it's just they got to blitz more. And I feel like that's something that it's not something the Niners do necessarily a ton. As I said, this is the lowest blitz rate they've had in the Shanahan era. I think they peaked at like 35 in 2021, I believe it was. So it's at some point you got to play offensively on defense and try and force things to happen. And that just hasn't happened for this 49ers. I need to see it from Nick Sorensen very early. I don't want to write him off or nothing yet. It's very early in all of it, but it's just not been encouraging. And this is just the game where it needs to start being encouraging because this is a New England offense that should not, and I will repeat that, should not be able to compete with this 49ers defense.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is you're just rushing 4. So rushing 4 is not working. Now what? Now do you start to commit Devondre Campbell, someone else to blitzing, maybe Demo off of in a nickel spot? These are the things that Sorensen's going to have to figure out because it's not 1-for-1 with every personnel. This isn't something that's going to work with everyone else because if you have a better quarterback, better offense, you better not be blitzing all the time because someone's going to make you pay. But this is the time to try it. This is the time to go at Jacoby Brissett and try to figure out what's working. And I think a little bit of the pass rush too is, you're running stunts with Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd needs to just bend and speed rush. And I think also, I don't think he should be in on base downs, but I think he is in on base downs because they don't have confidence in anyone else. I think Leonard Floyd should be a situational pass rusher. Keep him fresh, third down, obvious passing down, get him in there and rush the quarterback. But unfortunately, when you're looking at the depth of this team now on the defensive line, that almost doesn't feel like it's a possibility because you have to put your best guys out there, especially on the defensive line. So I think there's a lot of things that can be figured out here. And I think it has to do with the level of quarterback and the offense, but starting to figure it out here before the competition gets better and trying different things when you're playing, let's just say, the Chiefs or somebody like that, it's not going to work. You have to start to stack these plays and this consistency, and it has to start this week because if it doesn't, then what's going to happen, moving forward? After this, Arizona's going to give the 49ers fits. After that, Seattle's going to give the 49ers fits. It's just, if there was ever a get-right game for almost everything, and then you see Debo and Kittle returning, it's got to be this one for the defense because if it's not, then there's no real relief headed, down the schedule, and it's going to make things hairy going forward. And it's going to turn the 49ers into a team that has to score 30, 35 points, and that's something we haven't seen during the time with Kyle Shanahan.
No, and it's not something we've really seen the 49ers do in forever. I mean, the 49ers have never been an offensive first team. And so that's what's concerning. Jason, speaking of offensive first, let's flip to the offense and kind of where I think the Niners can win this game. I mean, I think the Niners will win this game for multiple reasons, but something we know Kyle Shanahan's very, very good at is getting receivers open. Brock Purdy's been very good at finding those receivers. New England's defense has allowed 75% completion percentage. That is the second highest in the NFL, behind the Arizona Cardinals, who, hey, we might talk about that stat next week again, Jason. I see this being a game where Brock Purdy, whether he has Debo, he's going to have Kittle. I can see this really being a game where Purdy settles in and just picks apart this defense, and the Niners offense has no issue moving the ball.
Yeah, and again, Christian Gonzalez is a top-notch cover corner, and I think that's going to be a really great matchup, but I don't expect it to just be him following Brandon Ayuk. There's still ways to get him open. By the way, Brandon Ayuk needs to have a pretty good game soon, otherwise the noise around him is going to get louder. Not me, not me personally. I understand what happened fully in that Rams game. But yeah, again, this is another spot. Keon White is a very good edge rusher. I want to say that, so Colton McKivitz has got to lace it up this week, man. And make sure that he's playing well because he can't have another game like he did against Jared Verse because that's not going to go well. And that would be a way if you're talking about how do the 49ers not be successful? Like it's those things. Edge rushers can blow up your game. Edge rushers can cause turnovers. Edge rushers can turn the game on a flip. If the 49ers are having their way on offense, then Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots become one-dimensional even further, but in the wrong way, not in the right way, where they're running the football all the time. So everything kind of goes with the offense right now because it's the one thing we can set our watch to. The offense, I have little to no concern at this point. I don't think the 49ers are losing games because of their offense. And now you're talking about bringing back Kittle, bringing back Debo. Obviously, Jawan Jennings is going to be a part of this. The way Jordan Mason has been playing, it's all lining up right here for the 49ers. I don't want to sound overly optimistic, but these are just the facts. And I think this is the way that 49er fans should be thinking about this. If you're worried about any given Sunday, I completely hear you. It's been 2 straight weeks of it. But again, it has to happen now. Otherwise, we have to have a much bigger conversation about this team.
Yeah, and it's backwards from usual years. I've been telling my friends, I have a group chat with some Sacramento friends. And it's like, oh, this team needs Debo back. Oh, this team needs Kittle back. And it's like, what is that going to help the defense? Because I just think we're so used to like the Niners defense being the thing that we can lean on, where we see these headlines like Debo out or type like that. And it's like, okay, well, the offense needs to catch up. That very much wasn't the case last week. The offense, I had no complaints about the 49ers offense last week, other than a couple offensive linemen. But that's just like a normal complaint for the Niners at this point, right? Is complaining about offensive linemen. This offense should be able to move the ball against the Patriots. And something, I don't look at average drive stats too often. I don't know why, but something that kind of stood out to me this week, and I mentioned it in my numbers to know, NinerNation.com. Jason, don't know if you guys know, we write for it. New England's opponents' average drive starts at their own 25.7 yard line. That's the second longest field on average to go against the defense. And that seems concerning for any team, really. But the Niners, their average starting position when they have the ball is the 27-yard line. That's the 4th longest field for any offense. So the Niners are already prepared for long fields. That's kind of what they do. That's what they've done this season. But what they do with those long fields, the Niners are second in yards per drive, second in plays per drive, second in time possession per drive, and 6th in points per drive. So they're taking long fields and scoring. And by the way, Jason, I said second in plays per drive, yards per drive, and time of possession per drive. Do you know who number 1 is?
Kansas City.
The Washington Commanders, because they've been very good the first couple games. Yeah, left hand up. So like it's just the Niners defense has me concerned. Absolutely. But the New England offense does not have me concerned for the 49ers defense. And while the New England defense has dudes, like they have a lot of dudes on this. Like look at the secondary: Jonathan Jones, Christian Gonzalez out wide, slot corner Marcus Jones, and then a safety room with Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar. That's a pretty good secondary. But just the numbers, and you know me, Jason, I'm a big numbers guy. Every number tells me the Niners should win this game, and it really comes down to that offensive side of the ball. New England has a hard time against the pass, at least in terms of completions. That's where the Niners really like to eat. New England is good at keeping teams with long fields. Well, it's the 49ers. They move the ball on long fields. Everything tells me the Niners should win this game. So, Jason, the $1 million question, why am I so goddamn nervous the Niners aren't going to win this game?
Okay. Let me objectively tell you where and how I think the 49ers can run into some problems with the Patriots. Jerod Mayo is under Bill Belichick. I'm not certain if he was on the coaching staff that beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, held them to 3 points. But what that game was Bill Belichick lifting the Chicago Bears defensive game plan from Vic Fangio of 6-1, the penny front, which is designed to stop outside zone. It is designed to slow down outside zone, right? Bill Belichick sees that, throws it out there. He made Jared Goff's life a living hell in that game. That offense was absolutely flummoxed, only 3 points in the Super Bowl, right? Now, while the personnel is not as good, Vic Fangio's back at it again. And this week against the Saints, okay, Saints have a humming offense. Clint Kubiak wants to run outside zone. Kyle Shanahan offense. All right, Vic Fangio, how do you slow it down? 6-1, but you're not coming out with 6 down linemen. You are showing regular pre-snap. You fall into it right before the snap, and now you're confusing. Now, I don't know if this is what Jerod Mayo and his defense is cooking up, but I can tell you that if you have that sort of pre-snap recognition, changing it into that right there, that is something that could give the 49ers problems, because if they're able to slow down the outside zone, which is what Penny Front 6-1 is designed to do. And they want to put this game in the hands of their secondary to cover at, like one-on-one with those guys. That is something that could prove itself to be a little bit nervous, right? Like, I think the 49ers still have enough to adjust. They have the players to beat those things, but if they come out with something that the 49ers aren't prepared for, or they start to execute very well on defense and they make this game tight and it gets tight, and how do the 49ers respond? So I don't think you're crazy. I don't think this game is particularly close, but if I had one concern, it would probably be Gerard Mayo dipping into the Bill Belichick, Vic Fangio bag, trying to slow down the 49ers at least for a little bit to keep them in the game close enough where they can run the football and keep themselves out of being one-dimensional throwing the football.
Gerard Mayo was not with the Patriots.
He was not.
Super Bowl. He joined as an inside linebackers coach the next year.
So don't even worry about what I said. Not going to happen. They're not running penny fronts. None of that stuff isn't going to happen. So take all that and just throw it out.
Jason, I asked you last week for the list of quarterbacks, or no, 2 weeks ago, the list of quarterbacks that have beaten the 49ers in Minnesota. It was kind of a fun list. Can you tell me who the Patriots head coach was the last time the 49ers played New England without Bill Belichick? You got this. I believe in you.
I don't believe in me.
One of our friends in the group chat really likes him. He was a pain in the ass to 49er fans for a very long time. Chews gum very aggressively.
Jim Harbaugh?
Pete Carroll.
Pete
Carroll was the last Patriots head coach before.
Oh, you said head coach. I'm thinking a quarterback. Like, I'm like, why am I?
Oh, I apologize. Yes, I might have said quarterback.
No, it's my fault.
My bad. Hey,
no, you're good.
I ask questions on this podcast.
I have to listen more. It's my fault. I have to listen. My therapist is telling me, am I a person that is listening or waiting to speak? And I think that's something that's really, really important.
That's something I've needed to work on in my life too. So look, therapy, Sprint Red Option Podcast. We love it. Hey, Jason, I haven't been very good at going through the comments. So before we get to predictions, I'm just going to scroll through some comments that I appreciated. Axel starting off hot. No more red shorts. That was at the very top. I really, really like this one from JKBG all time. This was during Doc. Please don't expose the distinguished doctor to the horrors of 49ers Twitter, where the hot button topic of the day is freaking shorts, for God's sake. So we like it. We had Rod show up, Rams fan. Exciting. I think we had a donation. Smack Jones here. Link up with the coach and Jesse, East Coast Vibes. For Red Option Podcast, we'll link up with anybody. If anybody reaches out to ask, we'll link up. We'll talk 49ers football with anybody. So just a lot of great comments today. I am working on it. Rod going with a throwback. Hey, Pasquini is your brother, Matt Patricia. Just a lot of great comments today. I appreciate it. I'm working on showing them more as the podcast goes on. So if I don't have your comment up, I apologize. I'm doing my best. Don Burr popped into, wouldn't believe it. He's at the Tigers game today because the Tigers are trying to make the playoffs. So shout out Don Burr. Jason, let's get to the predictions. Before we get there, underdog. Promo code Aponte matches up to $1,000. Jason, who are your picks for Sunday? This might be the easiest of the season because we know who's playing going into Friday, Jason.
And I think it's interesting that underdog, if you guys use my promo code, obviously you get up to $1,000, but any pick'em that you do this weekend, you will get 10% bonus cash back. Ooh. This is the perfect time to try and go ahead and do something like this. So, first of all, rushing attempts for Jordan Mason, 18.5. Give me higher. This is easily going to be 20 and up. I think that's super easy. The one that everyone's starting to get hip to is, at least in Vegas, is rushing yards. 5.5 rushing yards for Brock Purdy, higher. Every week he's giving you at least 20, 25. That's easy right there. Ramondre Stevenson rushing attempts. Give me 13.5 over. Easy. I think that's perfect. Again, they're going to try to run the football a ton. And I think that's going to be somebody who they're obviously going to try to run the football too. And Hunter Henry, receiving yards, 28.5 higher. Those are the 4. The only things that they have up are for Juwan Jennings is 9.05. I think they're holding some back for Deebo Samuel. They don't know what to do and set that. But if we're just going off what they're giving us right now, I'll go over it again. 18.5 rushing attempts for Jordan Mason, higher. 5.5 rushing yards for Brock Purdy, higher. 13.5 rushing attempts for Ramondre Stevenson, higher. Hunter Henry, 28.5 receiving yards, higher. And any pick'em that you do, you will receive 10% back bonus cash. You will be rewarded right after Monday Night Football. Perfect time to join Underdog. Promo code Aponte. your first deposit matched up to $1,000.
Jason, I feel like the Purdy line, the rushing yard line at the start of the season was like 2.5.
Yeah.
They're catching on. It's already more than doubled. It's at 5.5. So we're catching up. Just wait until that number's at like 18.5 because Purdy's ripping off 70-yard games. No problem.
Vegas is on it because it was 6.5. I took it. It hit. It was 8.5. I took it. It hit. 10.5. I took it. It hit. They're on it. They're starting to see. They're not dumb. That's why House always wins. Vegas is on it. Underdog is giving you 5.5. Feels like a gimme pick.
Feels like a gimme pick. Purdy's been scrambling a lot this year, and he's been getting those
got legs. He's faster than Lamar
it.
Jackson. I just couldn't help myself.
Hey, so my prediction for the 49ers this weekend, I think the 49ers are going to win 27-13. I'm very nervous for this game. I'm probably, it's 100% for me. It's just been the last 2 weeks. They should have beat the Vikings. They should have beat the Rams. The Niners are better. The Niners are better than all 3 teams they've played this year, and they're 1-2, and that's not a spot you want to be at. So right. I think that's why a lot of people are nervous, because the Niners should win this game, but the Niners are 1-2 in games they should win. But I just, man, Minnesota's got a squad cooking. As Jason Aponte once said, you never know with divisional games. The Patriots, I just don't think, I think they're building something. I think whatever Drake May is going to be, we're not going to know this year because the offensive line isn't very good. I think New England's building something, but they're not quite there. I got Niners 27, Patriots 13.
31-13 49ers. I think this game gets away from them eventually. The 49ers are just going to do too much, and it's going to put the Patriots in a spot where they have to throw the football. That's exactly what you want. Feels like a bounce-back game where they get a few turnovers. This is just a prime bounce-back spot, hopefully a springboard to them playing better. Springboard wins essentially are, for the most part, against competing teams or teams that are in the upper echelon. What I mean by springboard is just springboard to consistency. We've got the bar's very low right now for defense. The bar is even lower and in hell for special teams. All you have to do is just play average, it feels like, and you'll get a boost from this team with the way the offense is playing. 31-13, I just don't see them being able to have the horses to keep up with the 49ers in this one.
Jason, I got one final prediction. The baseball season's coming to an end. The New York Yankees going to the playoffs. AL East champions. How deep they going this year, Jason? Is this the year, or what's happening with their Yankees?
It just kind of depends on who they run into. And it's funny that Detroit's there. Detroit is doing something that's phenomenal. I think they were at one point 1% chance of making the playoffs, and now their percent is at 82%. It just goes to show you baseball is not a sprint; it's a marathon. I got to keep saying it. If Houston's on the other end, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't care what they took to get there. It's just they own the New York Yankees. We'll circle back when we have our matchups. If it's the Cleveland Guardians, I'm not worried. They don't want this smoke because they can never beat us. But if it's the Houston Astros, my God, man, I am nervous. I don't like it. And I don't care if we have the home field advantage. It's not a good matchup for us. Just somebody beat Houston for us and get them out of the way. Then we can talk about maybe winning the ALCS at this point.
This is a podcast that fears the Houston Astros, but this is also a podcast that enjoys the San Francisco 49ers and talking about it. We appreciate everybody joining in, watching us. Extra shout out to Dr. Nirav Pandya. We appreciate him. If you want to follow him on Twitter, you go follow him on Twitter at Dr. 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 Nirav Pandya. Great follow. He tells you what's in his cart, what Warriors jersey he's trying to buy. He's a big Warriors fan. So give him a follow, not just for the fandom, but also the doctor stuff too, because he does give a lot of good insight to the injuries. Jason, do you have any fun plans for the weekend? You doing anything fun, exciting, just hanging out?
Got to get this little one ready for bed, and then that's it. So then I'll probably be asleep in a little while. So it means it's an early night for me on Friday. But Saturday, not much, and then Sunday we're right back in the saddle. 1 o'clock game. We don't have to worry. Over here on the East Coast, the Niners play at 4. Sunday night football is shaping up to be a doozy. Give me the Bills and Ravens all day. I cannot wait to watch that one. And then of course we get a Monday night doubleheader. So you might get lunchtime sprint right option again, because I don't like potting during football. Nobody's gonna watch.
So are you trying to tell me that people are gonna watch Will Levis versus Tyler Huntley over us?
Oh, you damn right. People got parlays and fantasy teams and everything. It's just, you know what's funny is we go all off season saying I would love to watch football. I don't care what 2 teams, and then They drop off Dallas against the New York Giants on on Thursday Night Football, and you're just like, oh, this is awful. But it is what it is. Hey, my squad in the building dropping 5 Spicy Squad memberships. Grab them while you can. We're going to do some call-in shows this week. Try to figure out what's going on with this team because we'll have 4 weeks of information. A lot of people will have a lot of things to say. We'll be members only. Spicy Squad people will get the link first, and then you guys can jump on. Tony's been a part of it. Everybody else that has, so make sure you grab that on there. Shout out to Gammon and the Mod Squad. Generous as always.
You mentioned it, Jason. 4 games through. That used to be a quarter of the season. We're already 25% of the way through. It comes fast. It gets through, and football is gone. But we're already 25% of the way through. We appreciate everybody here. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. Everything's fine. Andrew, if you wear red shorts again, you're fired.
But I just signed like a really big extension. You can't fire me like that.
You better get ready to learn Pittsburgh. Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.
Sprint ride option.